Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Morton's Castle. Sorry for there's not being uploaded in a while. I'm a busy full-time teacher, but I'm still a gamer on the side. So right here we got a new level. This is kind of a bonus level, and it uses the new Iggy shell tech that was showed off on the Seed Gaming channel. So I'll link that. Very cool. You can have the Koopalings always spinning on their shell. So at the beginning level, you can get a mushroom, and it kind of demonstrates what's going on with the shells. But the whole level's designed. So I got Iggy, Wendy, and Larry on their shells. And kind of like the way they set up, they spin at different speeds. So you're on this platform that's going up, and Iggy's spinning really fast, but Larry's spinning really slow. And they don't break each other, they just roll right through each other. So you get this really interesting, I've never seen anything like this in Mario Maker, because this tech is kind of like brand new. But like they go between each other, you gotta jump over them. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes their patterns are different. And then boom, Morton comes in, he can jump so he can stun you. And you can actually get like stun locked here in the middle of all of these spinning shells. So right now it's a bonus level, but it might actually end up being in my final world, because this level is called Morton's Castle Tower of Shell. Like a little pun on Tower of Hell. You can do it with no damage, you do the checkpoint from the pipe. Like for speedrun strats, there is no mushroom, because I've made the course with no mushroom. But I put a mushroom at the beginning to be nice for you all. So like I think everyone can read this one. It's like so cool, like this tech. I like played around with hours trying to figure out what I can use those shells for. And it wouldn't be possible with anything else, because I think if you use spinning shells, they would hit each other, they would break, they wouldn't phase through each other like that, and they wouldn't be going different speeds. So that's a very unique course. And now we're going to get into my actual World 5. This is called Skeleton Shroomland. My World 5 is kind of like a horror world, or like a death world. So you can see there's a lot of skulls here, a lot of dry bones. And kind of the lore of this is that these fungi are like death fungi. They're poisonous, they have like bad spores, and like kind of like if Koopas die around them, they become dry bones. So like these mushrooms kind of create the dry bones in the lore, I guess. So there's a lot of like little hops, and then there's munchers, because I feel like in like the aesthetic, the munchers are part of the mushrooms. So like I'm like always pushing to have like a very unique aesthetic in Mario Maker. Here you do a little short hop. A lot of dry bones action in this world. So right here you just kind of duck under this. This level is the first level of World 5, and it acts as like the tutorial for the dry bone shell, teaching the player to go down underneath the dry bones, because you did it there, you're going to do it here, and boom, you're about to do it again. So lots of skulls, lots of dry bones, lots of dry bone shell action. I really love the dry bone shell, actually. And then the following platforms, you jump, hop out of the shell, boom. SMB3 is a pretty great style. Right here at the end I got a little troll, because there's all these monsters, you hit the power block, but the skeleton still survives. Like, if you keep running forward, you think that they're going to die, but you might get caught by that. So that's the first level. The second level is called Cthulhu Cult Swamp Sprint, and this is a speedrun level. Basically, hold right, jump, and jump out of the dry bone shell every time you can. It's based off the Call of Cthulhu. I really like H.P. Lovecraft short stories. I'm an English teacher, so I read a lot. But I like horror, so I kind of base my Mario Maker world on horror and Lovecraft, which is kind of weird, but the Magic Koopas are like the cultists. The green swamp water is the swamp, because like kind of like the cults are in like I think like the Louisiana swamps or whatever. But you still get a little bloopers underneath the water as kind of like a little Cthulhu shout out. He's like a tentacle eldritch god. But this section is really cool. You jump out of a dry bone shell into another dry bone shell. You're jumping off of dry bones. The ducking technique that I showed you in the last level, you're utilizing at high speeds, kind of bouncing off these piranhas here, back onto the falling platform to land on the Magic Koopa and to escape the swamp before the bloopers take over. And at the end, you got this. There's no music in this level, it's all the heartbeat, which is kind of interesting because it's like a horror speedrun. So most speedruns, you have like the Mario 64 Mario Kart music or whatever, or the Galaxy music, but it was just all that. In my other video, my wall jump video, I made a Shadow over Innsmouth, which is another horror short story, which was one of my wall jump levels. That's featured in one of my other videos, but that's level 3 in my World 5. So continuing on with that horror theme right there. And then we come to the castle level, which is a tower level, actually. It's called Count Ludwig's Clock Tower, and I have this clock gimmick. So there's a on-off switch that's basically on a bomb timer, and if it reaches the end, it will activate, getting rid of the on-off switch, and you won't be able to progress. So I actually die here, because that room's a little difficult. But I did try and transition the aesthetic, so I have the similar Skeleton Shroomland stuff right there at the beginning, and then you enter the clock tower, and the clock shenanigans begin. So pretty technical one with the on-off switch, and some of these rooms are really tight, but they're all based off the different levels. Like you see this one's based off the Skeleton Shroomland level. You get into the shell, you hop over here. And when you enter this room, this one's based off a Shadow over Innsmouth, because you have the hanging crates, you have the little fish. And I died again, so I don't know what's going on with this footage. But again, I'm super busy lately, so I don't have super much time to edit or work on these. I've been kind of working on these for like a month now, but they're kind of like finally in a state that's ready to give to you all. I might talk about Mario Wonder soon, and I got more DK videos cooking. I definitely care about y'all, and thank you for supporting the channel. We've had a lot of growth and a lot of views lately, so that's good. But yeah, this clock gimmick is really interesting. Basically, there's a bob-omb above the screen that will eventually, it's like walking in a burner, and it will activate right when the fire bar lines up with the on switch. So this room's a little tight. Like getting into this pipe, like look at that, the clock is almost done, and then you get through there. So it's Ludwig Clock Tower, so there's literally the clock tower background icon everywhere, clocks everywhere. So you went through the timer section, and now you're in this vertical section like Castlevania, like when you're in the clock tower in Castlevania, where you have like the gears everywhere. So I represented the gears kind of with saws, and then I also have just more clocks with fire bars. These fire bars are a little bit longer, so they actually pose a threat to you. So this level's got like two sections. You have the beginning with the little micro room challenges based off of every other level in the world. And now you have this vertical section filled with dry bones and clocks. And then here you actually end up going through the clocks to navigate the level, which is pretty fun. So you can kind of go through them. You can go around the fire bar. You can kind of sneak through the middle right there. I really like SMB3 style, and I was using like the ghost house a lot for this world because it is kind of a horror world. So at the very top of this tower, you get another dry bone shell. Dry bones shell is kind of like the common motif throughout this world. It's pretty much used in every level except the bonus level. But I think, again, like the bonus level will probably be in another world eventually. I might make another level to actually fit into this world. It's like a true another horror level. But I am very, don't have a lot of time. So I was just like, I'm going to go for it. So you leave the dry bone shell at the top, and then you're at the top of the clock tower. You go through here. And you get all these stained glass windows. I kind of love the stained glass windows. The little clocks is very aesthetic. I think my aesthetics are peak lately. I'm pretty good at Mario Maker aesthetics. Let me know what you think. But up here, boss room, obviously, I gotta let you choose between three power-ups. And it's Ludwig. He's Count Ludwig. And I think in the lore, he's like a vampire here. I wanted to have his clones, but I didn't want to like spam the boss room with Ludwig. So they actually fall from tracks. So they're not going to land on the field. They're just going to fall right off. But as they fall, they can damage you, and they fire off their beam. So there is just one Ludwig, but there's like 5 other Ludwigs that fall down periodically and kind of threaten you. So it's a little hectic, and you got that clock in the middle, so there's not a lot of room to jump, but it's not terribly bad. More clocks and aesthetic at the end, and then when you come out of the pipe, I have some like eldritch demon tentacles guarding the goal, and Mario's like a little scared. So Ludwig in the lore, I think he was teaming up with eldritch gods to control time, which is why he's got that clock tower. So this is my World 5, Skeleton Shroom Land, the Cthulhu Cult Swamp Sprint, Shadow over Innsmouth. You got that bonus level with the Iggy Tower of Shell, and then Ludwig's Clock Tower. So here's the maker code. Y'all have a good one.